Can you believe it, Music Multiverse listeners? Yes, this is the end of 2025. This is the final episode of Album Review Saturdays 2025. This is episode 52. And we were going to make a yearly end occurrence for sure of this, so we're calling it Cleanup on Aisle 2025. Now, obviously, it was planned that my usual co-host Dan was going to be joining me. However, that just didn't happen. This is the time of year. Sickness comes in. She's not well enough to be on the show, and it's been days and days, so she was not prepared to do all this. I mean, there are a ton of albums here that I'm going to drop. I'm going to do this on my own, but here, if you're joining us for the first time, I want you to realize that BeyondYourRadio.com usually hosts 3 album reviews written there without artificial intelligence because I'm too stupid to save myself time and energy and potential errors. No, I just need to be genuine, and that's what I want to be here. All that it is, it's all that I have in this world is to be genuine. However, this week, it's a little bit different. I did write a little something on a lot of these records, but I didn't bloviate. I just threw it at you. A little bit of bloviation, but not all the records are on that article section. This houses all of them as fast as I can get through them, and as much as I remember with off-script stuff. So a lot of albums. And if you know me, it's any genre, any style. So that's right, Music Multiverse listeners. It's time to do a last-ditch cleanup, get the mop out. Although, in actuality, when we return next Saturday in 2026, we will still be reviewing albums from 2025 that are just releasing in December. Actually, one on this list actually released this week. And I couldn't believe an album would have released on December 26th, the day after Christmas. But these cats did it, and kudos to them. Myself set up here. I have scoured the list of 2025 on as many fronts as I could come up with to a realization of, no, I didn't get to any techno and EDM or house, bass or producer side of things. But I did manage to partake in another 24 albums, actually, in all of this. We were tackling the Christmas albums last time. So hopefully you got your holly jollies on and out of the way. And now that we're back to the real listening experience of brand new albums, once again, you're with me. Even though, generally speaking, there's not many artists, bands, or record companies that enjoy the failure of releasing something in the last 2 weeks of the year, hell, even 3 weeks I've seen. And going into next year isn't going to be any easier either because of the way the holiday falls for New Year's Day on a Thursday. Anyway, we got all kinds of genre on this particular album review, episode 52, Clean Up on Aisle 2025. This is basically a YouTube channel only, but again, I did write on several of these albums there, so you can go there too. I'm going to start off with Altar of the Witch. The title is Altar of the Witch. It's a UK stoner rock band that's heavily influenced by that of the 70s psyched up area, but with the riffs and the cultish loyalties that put me in the mind of Anne Rice. Yes, the novelist. Like background music, as if I were reading and listening to this maybe in the background. I mean, come on, lady with no name. It's just begging for a treatment like that. But it's the riffs and the song that's untitled that showcases what this band can do above the genre. The era they're drawn to and the inclusion of some instruments that don't generally lend themselves to doomy stoner rock. No, I'm not going to tell you the instruments, but you'll hear them on your own and clear. The minute you hear it, you're going to go, what? So anyway, the vocals are also a very nice touch here and surprise actually too. The album was the best release of December 26, 2025. Insert your competition here because I don't think anything actually was released other than this in 2025 on the 26th of December, but I could be wrong. It's meaty. It's really good. Stoner fans get a listen on this. This is great. Yes, they had a prior album too, so your soul could be spawned to them as well. In their world of the king, you'll bow. I promise. This one escaped all the listings. I knew it would be good, but what would it be? This is Wolf Alice, The Clearing, released on August 22nd of 2025 on RCA and Columbia Records. Seems like exactly correct timing for this record, but I didn't get to it right away. Again, it was just difficult. Okay, let's call this exactly what it is. This is a Wolf Alice record done at high production volume, completely smoothed out. It's got like this Baroque rock feel to it, which is an absolute edgeless opportunity to showcase the band's love for overall music and positions. Got a little bit feel of the like the ode to the Beatles, but not in that way that you're thinking, just melody. Um, these influences just shine much bigger on this record, and the shredding of the indie rock sound is an encouraging position to take, in my opinion. It doesn't take away from the vocal power she has, nor does it render the band like neutered in any way, shape, or form. As what might be the comments from the critical companions to this, the entire record is filled with fantastic musical. I don't know what we'll call them. Musicalities. The bass, the drum, and the pace of "Bloom, Baby Bloom" is catchy. It's grooving, and it leads to the edge vocal we're used to, but it's falling in line with the band and giving off like an almost disco art rock kind of feel. I love it. It's got Prince like breaks and a little loose drive that's getting deconstructed a little bit by the indie. It's on the top album list for a lot of people, and deservedly so. It always seems that their sway, their coos like a devious dove this time apologizes for none of it, which is great. Although I will say, there are lyrical lines I lose because of her vocal tone on this one. I don't know my age maybe, but um, so London's Wolf Alice does not get the vocal of the year, as some critics have stated. You may want to look back at another vocal I had on my line, but I do love them mostly, and she can definitely rip. She can sing, but the overall emotional movement here is not anywhere near close or superior to the vocal of some of those that hailed in our top 25 of 2025. Maybe Rosalia for one. There's a couple of others too. But that was it. Ellie Roswell, I believe, is the vocalist's name. She does have a fantastic vocal, no question. So then I moved to I'm just picking these out of the air. Abigail Williams, A Void Within Existence. Yeah, I spared Deb this one. We were kind of supposed to split these to some degree. She couldn't even handle the cover, let me tell you. It's magnificent. It's dark. It's bleak, black, and storytelling for sure. You've got a person who's hung, maybe is dead, and there are people with drawing boards around there making the drawing. So that's your class. You're right. This one is a full balls out, and vocal out ripping black metal record that has no reason to take prisoners. You can take that any way you like, but look at the cover and you should realize they'll just leave you there. Where Ellie Roswell of Wolf Alice has to say fuck in her lyrics, these guys are saying it with every uttered instrument crush, vocal growl, black metal riff, and solo manifestations of void-worthy punishment. They don't need to say the word. If they are, you can't even hear it. Yes, the band is named for the sake of Winona Ryder. No, 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 no. But yes, the what is it, 1692 accuser in the Salem witch trials. Yes, that screams darkness. The band is from Phoenix, Arizona, and this I think crushing record was released on July 18th of 25, just in time for your burning days of summer. It's relentless. It has supposed ethereal position for the work. I don't know. It works a little bit well. It's a break, maybe. I don't know. It's hard to position this kind of album into having ethereal matter, but it will be too much for most that are not in tune with the genre of thundering despair. All right, we'll go from thundering despair to Americana vocalist. Yeah, let's Amanda Shires. This album's called Nobody's Girl. While I was expecting something quite different from her because of the prior record, what was it called? Take It Like a Man back in 2022. Nobody's Girl knocked off a bit of that luster and grime that I thought she had. And we kind of moved to this elegant country poetic license to showcase a vocal that it's a bit of the grit on it. It has been taken away. Away It Goes is more mesmerizing than I remember her to be. There's a deeper impression to start for sure, and just like I've walked into something that's got maybe a larger potential and real hurt on to tackle the listener's heart right out of the gate. So the album kind of stays in that position. It's lovely too. I don't get me wrong. However, the September 28th of 2025 release had a lot of ear competition, which started with Mariah Carey on that day, Robert Plant, Marcus King, Nico Case, and Geese, which was on major Album of the Year awards. So while they're at least um, another 25 records on top of that, I don't know where she might have fallen in that. It's very nice vibrato Americana with a more country and matters of the emotive heartbreak on the brain. A beautiful ache, maybe, well presented in the kind of adult Americana contemporary country. Oh, there's a mouthful. I mean, it rests heavy on the vocal, the twang, and the lingering slide guitar panhandling that's going on, which some of it works so delicately and tearfully to a really, really good spot. The variety here finds an odd place as rock country songs just they fell off, as if they just feel off, like they're there to punctuate the other songs. Maybe like I don't know if you know what I mean. Um, it's just a strange, possible, usual occurrence in the business where they put songs in that are so not well placed that you remember the other songs more so. There's no question that ATO Records should probably move her next release into a more favorable position because they had a good promo on that record. She was all over the place. She was on all kinds of shows, getting exposure all over the place. But when you're up against all that, her vocal and her abilities are just, they're going further than they were, and now that they are, I think that will probably be a place she sits at. So I'm definitely good with this one, but I think I get a recall more on the 2022 record. You didn't think I'd leave Prague off, did you? Let's go with two Prague records. We'll start off with Jack the Joker, The Devil to Pay in the Backlands. On August 22nd, this released along with Wolf Alice. That's interesting. I had no progressive metal knowledge of Jack the Joker, but they are from Brazil and it's on Frontier Records. So if you're on Frontier Records, you know what you're doing. This is an interesting dive into progressive metal environment in a kind of audio shifted by these fine young men. This is kind of like having, I don't know, Megadeth be a progressive metal band. The vocal is completely engaging with a variety of ranges that helpfully raise the bar and lower it into different. The range is just it's odd. It's almost like he's storytelling abilities. Maybe that's part of the culture. The vocal here has that can sometimes have that like been there, heard that kind of feel, and that's where I get the Megadeth from. There's also the extremely good progressive details of the guitars, bass, and drum that take the listener into a variety of bleak, heavy soundscapes, along with harmonies from guest vocaling. Yes, there's guest vocals on there. The bombastic mix comes in proggy, like a Symphony X. As a matter of fact, Russell Allen comes to mind, style audio that comes about, elevated all kinds of musical instruments that I don't know, they seem not to be practical, like the mandolin, but there's also keyboards too. It's the guitarist that sets this on fire where it needs to be done, no question. And there's two of them. They go beyond riff and really hit some grade A solo work that perks your ears up for sure. It's not a commonplace kind of record. Um, there's an intricate playing of guitar and especially the bass will surprise you if you're listening like you should be. Riff is one thing, but the accompaniment and mixture makes the, I don't know, the culturally connected part happen for us, right? It's hard for us to open our ears in the foreign sense of music. Progressive heavy and Brazilian rhythms is like um, originality meets technicality, if you will. And the record does it from beginning to end. There's no question. So vocals, two guitarists, bass, and drum. But it's this band that got a lot of prog praise, a lot of number ones. Um, you, if you watch today, I dropped my number one prog record, Agro Pelter, and I've spoken about Agro Pelter already. But the one that hit a lot of people the right way was Moron Police. The title of it is Pachinko, and this band has it in spades in the pop progressive rock environment. A lot of space on there, a gorgeous sounding record, all kinds of those instruments that you would expect from those kind of things. Genesis, a Yes, Marillion, um, and the vocal tone on the lead singer is magnificent. He comes through. It's almost like the them, just or the. Am I thinking? Yeah, the. Just very pronounced vocals, wonderful dictation, and hits the harmonies and melodies within the entire thing. It is a great record. I wish I would have put it on the album review Saturdays to get it more time and space, but I do agree with most people that it was definitely in the tops of prog. But remember, I deal with this in the overall scope of everything, and it fell short for me on the Agripelter side. It was edged out by Agripelter and Sayulu, which also made my list, and some other progressive bands that are most people might not consider progressive in that realm. But I give progressive rock and progressive metal and progressive all in a big bin, and they can dominate their own chart, and that's why people do it. But I take the hard road always. All right, so next I'll move over to Train Dreams, an original motion picture soundtrack by Bryce Dresner. Do you know Bryce Dresner? No, maybe you didn't. He is one of the parts of the National. I try to follow any of the National members wherever their side projects lead them. The band is very connected unit in composition, details, and musically fantastic. They've been doing this in the indie rock scene for what seems to be ages. It was just over 25 just this year. So, however, I've heard albums from Matthew Berenger get sunk and actually reviewed this year on the very program. Not to mention Aaron Dresner's incredible work with Taylor Swift and Bon Iver for Evermore and Folklore, which I consider her best records. I only had one other run-in with Bryce Dresner, and that was actually an on-session work with Steve Reich. Now, Reich is, a manifesto of minimalism, and I had very little knowledge of the soundtrack work until Train Dreams became noticed because of the attachment. In fact, I actually love the additional music he added to the score, which was developed and performed by Rishi Sakamoto and a German electronic musician. I think his name is Alvo Noto. So now I'm in this Train Dreams. It's an emotionally walloping soundtrack, building score, dense and density in sparsity in some cases too, which is an odd thing to say. The mood and setting, woody, gritty, rugged background presence, and he's a huge fan of the novella, and somehow got involved with this project, and it shows that his attention to detail and emotional detail of this. When you're reading a novel, you have to imagine things, but he's imagining the sound of it, which is what's something I've always done when reading a book. Is like, God, I'd love to put a soundtrack to this. Obviously, the business and the industry does not agree with me because they've never done it. So while you got this rugged background presence, it has to be warm. It has to have a warmth to it, a humanity, and that's the largest part of this. Dresner is a upright piano, harmonium, old acoustic guitars, ukulele, pump organ, parlor pianos, and even a banjo here. And then we'll get into Nick Cave. So I can honestly say I thought the same thing. No. Dresner's score has a deep sense of loss, but that could have easily been the continued musical background. But I believe that he knew that it had to have um, cinematic soundscape that had to be extremely well done. Not only did you have to sound like nature, but it had to feel like nature while still demanding the emotion of the character within its surroundings. The score has been called to an amazing building of dread, to calling of the importance of simple moments, the sound of them, as well as what we see on film. Dresner's band is a completely different animal to this, but there's no question that the fruits of his labors and the kinship he has with the variety of densities that are available served him incredibly well to score this movie. The emotion of it is huge, and the only lyrical piece written is with Nick Cave at the end on the um, title track. So is that Oscar nominating? I don't know. There's always been surprises in this realm, but Bryce has definitely a knack for writing scores, and I think you'll see a lot more of him. I know he's done a couple of others. He seems to be, I think he travels within this one particular director, but I think that's going to go miles from here. Next, let's just go all out industrial while we're at it, right? Here's Health, Conflict DLC, um, Los Angeles band, right? And they're on Loma Vista Recordings. So, despite their realization that the world is full of fear, anger, sadness, overall anxiety brought upon by our own constant need, our insecurities, and of course, our attention to nothing more than technological obsessions, on December 11th, they said, well, hey, don't put your phone down, please. you know, listen to this album, and the album is definitely delivered like it should be. This is a pressure cooker a la Marilyn Manson, Rob Zombie, and I think they got the guy from Lamb of God on guitar here. It shreds where it needs to. This one's finding all kinds of I don't know, increased positions, if you will, in the um, metallic guitar sounds, and I think that's what he brings to the table. Industrial sound is coming at your ears through all kinds of amplitude. There's a vocal placed in the foreground that's intentionally reminding us of the gloom and the depression, but it's not solved by pace or the thrashing of that mad pit of Rat Wars, which we remember from 2023's killer record. This is from the industrial pace thrash that loves their 9-inch nails, nailed to a speeding bullet most of the time, pressed against Godflesh, and dosed with a disease vocally modulated presence. Yeah, the vocalist does not utilize a raw vocal. Yes, Shred Envy might have been lifted directly from the presence of Rob Zombie, but instead of digging and burning through you'll be wondering, why didn't it kill me? You work with me there. You'll have to listen to the record. This is I don't know, bring me the horizon kind of fan here. That would be completely gassed musically and reaching out in the audio darkness for the kind of continued industrial electronica directions that this band takes and blisters and manipulates. And it's really cool. The purest of conflicted music is on this record. The thrash pace does fade, giving to a dystopian industrial path that has a hint of Depeche Mode, but it still reaches that for the razor vines that are still trapped around every inch of this record. reminding you, whether lightly paced or paced of drumming of like an incoming militia that's about to wipe out society as we know it. Good luck on your darkened enjoyment of the year. The Saints, the long march through the jazz age. Still not certain about that title, but I've always wanted to listen to the Saints. No, no, not them go marching in. I want to know it as if they go El Paso riding in on a slow trodden steed. It's kind of what this feels like. The musical composition has like a jangle punk. It's just something I wasn't sure I could find a position on. I always felt like a song I heard here and there was meant for some sort of Tarantino film. And on Long March Through the Jazz Age, released on the 28th of November on Fire Records, I received the perfect opportunity to try to get into a Saints record. And I didn't really absolutely realize it until getting into this that this is the finale, that Chris Bailey has died back in 2022. So this is a posthumous record. It gives you a position on the band that has been around since 1973. Yeah, it's true. This is the 15th studio album, and while I cannot speak to the fitting end of it because I've only listened to one record, I do understand how hard that is to maintain a band. And they're from Australia, so how does one maintain such a thing? Because there's so many bands out of there that are one and done or were great and they stick around there and never get anywhere. But this band had a presence in the United States for a long, long time. I looked over the list and I had never listened to one of these records prior. Although I will say I do remember that debut album cover. It just had that punk look, and I figured that's what it was. And I mean, it was, but come on, back then I wasn't into punk. But on this final record, I connected this to the Australian version of maybe Chrissy Hines and the Pretenders vibe. I get a vocalist who has a very short window of range for sure, but falls wonderfully and successfully and sincerely into the mix and deliver poignant lyrics and pontifications that kind of speak to the people, for the people, and of the people. The guitar work is catchy. There's a bit of sonic here and there, but there's also a bluesy jangle that gives the entire band a swagger as you prepare for a lick, a phrase, and even a bit of the Australian drag vocal, which feels a little bit to me like Peter Garrett at times. No. I also get a feel of the rock connection with the Rolling Stones due to the age of the band and the sincerity of songwriting that might put him in the country's list as the determined Dylan-like lyricist. Bailey has been called by Nick Cave as one of his favorite singers. That makes absolute sense. Also thought they were one of Australia's greatest bands. I enjoyed the Saints' final record, and I'm definitely going to be treading back through the catalog and to listen to one of Australia's greatest bands that somehow slipped past my music obsession, which is really odd considering the amount of records. So, clips. Let God sort them out. This is the fourth album from the duo Pusha T and Malice. And I'd never been hot on the duo. But when the rumors started about this record and where it was at and the placement of it in the year's best from all these places, I decided that I better take. What I thought was happening here is that two or three songs were dictating the love and the manifestation of a great album. And that's not what a great album makes. However, this happens quite often in the music industry, especially in the making of these lists that go to the pitchforks of the world and everybody else. And then, of course, there's the people that are in a genre and don't move left or right of them, or a little bit here and there. So on July 11th, 2025, they independently released this record, and which I got to say, I couldn't, to be independent, this seems like the band that should have sold to anybody or could have sold to anybody. So I get the idea, I think, that maybe they wanted to hold their concept, the sound and everything. Unfortunately for me, those two songs were still on my list and were still the reason, okay? And those two songs being POV and Chains and Whips. Is it Whips and Chains? Whips and Chains? Chains and Whips. Oh my God, I don't remember now. I don't know. You'll correct me. But I did get So Be It on this, and they do wind up being the really great part of the albums, these three songs. Um, you know why the record falls for me? It's those fucking decimal songs. You know, do I really? They're not going to reach me, and the pace and the rap pop isn't going to probably even catch me. But I understand the love. I do. What? I do. I do. This is a full-on raw-like production and non-compliant style. They're not filling a void. They're stepping around it. They don't see the need for it, and they the dual pull in all kinds of artists to have a fun flipping their way. Pharrell Williams again returns. He was on Rosalia's Lux, and he's in this again. He's producing the whole record. And we all know that he just finds a way to sometimes make albums that transcend political, geo-social, and even race, creed. And this record has a bit of that. He's a guest alongside a bunch of people: John Legend, Kendrick Lamar, Tyler the Creator's on this. A choir ensemble, Voices on Fire, which really sound great. Also contributing is Lenny Kravitz, and twice doing two things, piano and vocal, is Stevie Wonder, although the vocal is a speaking part. The album finds a couple more bangers too, which got me talking and loving it a little bit more. Inglorious Bastards is great. That drum beat timing and the horn. I hope it's horn. I hope it's not some stupid keyboard pressing spasm, because that would suck. I can put that song on repeat. I think it's really catchy, cool. It's kind of that appreciation of that march they got going on while God sorts out all this shit. It's glorious there, right? It's not inglorious. However, I do agree with the voice, that technological voice of unreason, that states this is culturally inappropriate. Why? Well, I realize the dialect will never hold true to my ears as hard as I try, but some grooves, beats, and testimonies are on display here in some very magical ways. I'll give it that. And these two gentlemen can definitely hold it together. And by the grace of God, as their final track states, and beats, I do understand the love and accolades given, and the melodic, lyrical line of that song could go a long way if everyone would pay attention to their dialogue. But damn, they say that word again. It's just culturally inappropriate. But they say it again and again. It's got to be another word, isn't it? I don't know. But it's just something about the style and the lyrical position of it all that it's okay. I just wish it wasn't there. Nova Quartet, track 1. I'm not going to go into the great depth here, but this is a wonderful string quartet doing amazing stuff with a past artist composer that I'm not familiar with at all. That's some of the reasons I'll go to classical, to newer ones. When I see Tchaikovsky and I see Bach, and don't get me wrong, they're all great, but I want to hear somebody I haven't heard before, so that I'm not judging it. And this this quartet is ridiculously tight in their concept, their tone, the weird things they do with the strings too. There's a quite a bit of that, and this is a gorgeous sounding record, well recorded. It has everything that you'd want in a string quartet recording, and one of the best of the year for sure. And I'm pretty sure it's been on lists. So take that on your classical side. There's also another one. What was it with Johnston on it? There's also Bliss, the cello concerto by Johnston with the Royal Liverpool Philharmonic Orchestra. That is, it's only 24 minutes, but it's just ridiculously good. Like that. It's an amazing composition. Concertos in F one, two, and three, I believe. It's not something I understand in the namings and nomenclatures, but I do think is one of the best recordings I've listened to in the classical realm. And to have that kind of position, it gets grandiose as it moves along and reacts, and it's just having the cello front and center, right? That's a cool thing in that. So another great mention there. So check that out too. Okay, so the one I was avoiding, I'll leave for last because it's it's just one of those records that when I saw it, I'm like, well, there's another reason why. But let's go to Green Carnation, a dark poem, part one, The Shores of Melancholia. Uh, this band's been doing things prior. I might have had a record here and there that I remember, but I this is like a progressive metal, if you will. I know that it's comes highly touted this year in the progressive realm as well, sort of like the Pachinko record. But this is like a Judas Priest kind of progressive rock, I guess I would say metal, and it goes into wonderful places. The tracks are all like 7 to 9 minutes long. Um, there's obviously different type of vocals that kind of pass throughout. Um, this was released in September. Via Season of Mist Records. It's the first album in a trilogy that are coming. So if you want to get started and ahead of that's a great place. Um, you don't want to try to devour this all in one place. But it is a progressive rock that progressive metal that has a lot of temperaments to go all kinds of different places. So it's dense. It's truly well recorded. Sounds fantastic. There are places in vocal and range that seem talky to me, but still they're dynamic, and I know that a lot of people in that realm um, will love this type of record. Pete Pardo of Sea of Tranquility it reviewed it, and he's put it on his list. So you definitely got a good vibe on it too from um, going to his channel and checking that out. Now we kind of went through all these, and I'm going to get to this final one here, this Deftones record. Um, I remember the Deftones and Helmet at their timings and the way their albums hit, the alternative, post grunge, systematic, pulsating sludge, and lyrical darkness that they've always been associated with. Now, my daughter, my youngest, is heavily into. She wanted to go see the band and like $125 ticket in the nosebleeds. There is nothing the Deftones are going to do, put on or play that costs a ticket price in the nosebleeds of $125. They are not a band that is a luxury. It's not Paul McCartney. It's not Barbara Streisand. They're not legendary, and their musical composition is not orchestral or grandiose in any way, shape, or form. I'm not cutting the band down. I like the Deftones. This is a very good record. Um, but where we're putting these people for pricing and tickets and the ability to see them live, this is my point. This album, this music has no other place it can go. It is what it is. It's like the pulsating this conflict record DLC from Health. They're not going to put on an acoustic version of this record. They're not going to change it up and find enlightenment. And the Deftones record is 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 what they have been. I think I don't see it and I don't hear it any other way. Um, uh, private music is just time. Is it better lyrically? I don't think so. Nothing really gravitated to me, whether it was The Mind is a Mountain or whether it was The Milk of Madonna. We're 10 studio albums in. And they've been what Reprise and Warner Brothers Records, and um, I don't think it's changed very much. Uh, there's certain areas of it that really have a place in your workout and your the way you might be feeling, but it's still the same Deftones. Um, it is the band's first studio album in 5 years, but it hasn't reached any pinnacle or changed anything to that matter. But certainly not to the point of needing $125 a ticket to see a band. There's not many bands that need that price. So, what did you think of these tons of albums? There's still more to go. I also had Tyler Childers on here. Snipe Hunter, didn't get to that, but I've heard it. I like it. A lot of heavy country rock, just let it all hang out kind of stuff. Love it. Um, and there's more to come. I want to thank you for joining me for this cleanup on aisle 2025 of the year. There'll be more records that I missed. I keep trying. It's impossible to listen to everything and anything. I'll let you know as we get to the final 4 albums of the year as to how many albums I actually wound up listening to of the 2025 albums. So stay tuned for more of that. Let me know, what did you think of these records, these albums here? It's a quite a bit. Were any of them on your best list of the year? Are they ones that you're going to check out? Let me know how you did there. We're on the web at beyondyourradio.com, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, of course. We got articles, videos, podcasts coming soon. It's all about albums, bands, artists, anything we can get our hands on, from the popular, like the Deftones, the Wolf Alice, to the not so well known, the Altar of the Witch, or maybe even the Bryce Dresner soundtrack for Train Dreams. It's all kind of great music out there, people. Don't get caught in one category. Go beyond your radio with us, a real music appreciation channel. Thanks for watching and happy listening.